And so let's get into then the situation with the stores, right? So you look at the financials, you look at the split on Sony games, for instance, and it does come away like, oh yeah, the largest percentage, the overwhelming percentage of purchases and money made is coming from their digital storefront, right? But I do think it's important to consider that the digital storefront is a store with more games. And this is one of the benefits of digital distribution because it doesn't require a physical product stored. As a result, it's like comparing, say, the digital storefront has thousands of games, the physical storefront has like 100, right? Like there's a gigantic difference in terms of what's actually available. And Capcom themselves revealed this. In their sales, that skewed 93% digital, 7% physical. You look and realize, okay, 84% of their sales were older back catalog titles, some of which are out of print, many of which are actually not super easy to find or convenient to find. And that also, of course, ignores used sales, which they don't want, but it doesn't actually represent the demand or lack thereof of the physical product because you're comparing a platform with many more products to sell versus one where there's much less product to sell, right? So, of course, the digital storefront in that case will have sold many more units because there's just more stuff to sell. And again, I get that benefit, but it doesn't harm them to have this optional entry point for purchasing these titles, right? Capcom is also interesting because 54% of their games were on the PC. And PC is an all digital storefront, right? So when you start to think about that, like, okay, so only, you know, 46% of Capcom's business still occurs on consoles. So then the things shift a little bit. If you subtract the games where it's like not available physically, difficult to get, and you just look at new titles, things start to level out even more. There is still a demand for it. In the case of something like Resident Evil Requiem and Pragmata for that matter, there's another anecdotal side to this, and this is purely anecdotal. We don't know the actual results. Those games were actually hard to find on disc. I found this out the hard way. They was sold out everywhere in the US, all the stores, Amazon, everywhere for weeks. You couldn't get it after launch. Mark Triforce Duddleson was visiting me when Requiem came out. He realized that they weren't able to find a copy online, so he's like, well, I'll just buy one in Germany. We searched all the media marks and all the shops within like a 50-kilometer range of my house. Only like two of those stores had any copies, and it was just the deluxe version. And in those cases, it was like two copies. They sold out of all of them. We talked to some of the people there. They actually got a decent amount at most stores, but they were all gone. Which means if you wanted to play it that day and you didn't pre-order, you weren't there right away, you might actually not be able to purchase the disc at all, which is another concerning thing. So that definitely shifts things, right? When you look at Sony, we don't actually have the most recent numbers here, but that Insomniac leak did reveal some numbers, right? And this is, again, it's older data, but there was a huge split, often in favor of physical media for their single player based games, right? Games like Returnal, 61% physical versus 39% digital. Last of Us 2, 61%. Spider-Man, 66%. Spider-Man 2 was similar. Miles Morales about the same. Demon Souls, 70% physical. You know, they even showed like Astrobot. Astrobot's from 2024. It was like 55 or something, basically balanced in favor of physical. So they were still selling a lot of physical copies of those games on their own platform, right? So you eliminate this, it's like, all right, a percentage of those buyers they wager will just come over and buy digitally. But there is going to be a percentage of buyers that might not do so, right? I know for sure. I mentioned Mark earlier and myself, and all in that friend group, like without the physical option for most of those games, we wouldn't buy them with our own money. I certainly wouldn't. Maybe if it's on sale, but I would not be there day one for it. Certainly not. And this creates another issue, right? We're at a point where uh, prices for hardware have become ridiculous, right? We don't know what PlayStation 6 is going to cost, but there are estimates that we could be looking at $1,000 console, maybe more. Maybe that's even kind. But now Sony's asking users, you got a subset of these hardcore users, often early adopters that are invested in physical media. Now you're being asked to pay far more than you've ever paid before for a new console. You're taking away an option that many of us loved, and you're thrusting people into a frankly insecure marketplace. The PlayStation Store is not a secure place. People's accounts are getting hacked. There's been high profile examples of this even. Those accounts can often be completely lost, right? They can close it. You lose everything. You have no recourse for it. This is a thing. It's documented. You will see a lot of instances of this. It sucks, but it's there. Sony's security is not good enough. Do you want to invest in that? I sure don't. In addition, there's just like the price factor, right? And I've seen so many examples of this already. People are posting it all over the place. But I feel like one that stuck out was just like, oh, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, right? You go onto Amazon right now, it's $25 on US Amazon. It's similarly cheaper on, European Amazon, whatever. It's not, you can get that. If you say, man, I want to play Delta, you can go get a copy right now. Go onto the PlayStation Store. It's $69.99. You go back to like older Call of Duty games, right? You can find those used for a song on the store, full price. You know, so like, yes, there can be sales, but they're often not when you want them. And you can't just on a whim go get those games. You are now beholden to whatever price they decide to set. And we know they were messing with quote unquote dynamic pricing already. So what's that going to do to the price situation? Making gaming, not only is the hardware more expensive, the software can also be more expensive. It also means that the only way to access this is that you need accounts with a credit card. Further problem for younger audience, which by the way they're already struggling to maintain. So they're nipping at the younger audience, and now they're kicking the more hardcore fans. So I mean, yeah, you still got millions of users in the middle that don't care, but is that really the time to be doing that right now? I don't know, man. I would also say that for me personally, from a pure like emotional level, like it's not just about like, oh, I have this physical disc. There's a side to it. Commerce matters, and I feel like we've lost this. There is something about going to different stores with your friends, you know, looking for things, like talking to the sales clerks. Some people don't like this. I love it. I think it's great. You actually build these relationships, you go on these journeys. That is not the game, but it's part of the experience of gaming. When people come together, they gather in these spaces, they talk, they share their thoughts, their love of the medium. I can go to a bookstore and find other fans of reading and talk to them. It's great. You can go to music stores, which by the way, physical media for music, movies, it's on the upward trend. And even younger people are starting to appreciate it. They're tired of subscription services. They don't want that necessarily. It also creates that whole ROM list problem where you just blasted with like millions of pieces of random content and fail to engage with any of it, which I don't think is that good either. But losing this commerce experience for me is a really sad thing because a lot of my memories are tied up in that, right? I mean, this maybe it's just me. Maybe people just think this is dumb, silly, whatever. That's fine. I do remember going to things like Halo 2 launch, right? Lining up outside at midnight, talking about Halo with people. I made some new friends there. People I talked to for years. We would play those games together. That experience, like we go home, we play it, we experience the campaign, then go through the co-op, it becomes a whole conversation piece. That whole experience, it's driven by those connections with the people, literally hauling your TV to somebody's house. That sounds so inconvenient. Night, talking about Halo with people. I made some new friends there. People I talked to for years. We would play those games together. That experience, like we go home, we play it, we experience the campaign, then go through the co-op, it becomes a whole conversation piece. That whole experience, it's driven by those connections with the people, literally hauling your TV to somebody's house. That sounds so inconvenient, but that extra step has value, right? We're reaching a point where commerce has become companies piping content directly into your mouth while extracting money directly from your bank account. There's nothing else but that. It's just pure, like, in the quote unquote sake, for the sake of convenience, they say they reduce those transactions to this. I don't like that. That sucks. Again, some people don't care. I understand why companies want that, but it is a loss for me, right? So, but then there's things like the PC, and I see like, well, John, why are people mad about this but not the PC? And this gets into the other side of this, and this comes down to control and ownership over the platforms. The PC is an open platform, right? Steam exists. It does have DRM. Uh, but, and I hate to say, there's legal and illegal ways around this. Essentially, you have this knowledge. They cannot take away the content from you. You will, once it's there, you have it, right? And beyond that, Valve does, their system is set up in a way where the PC is like a continuous platform that continues to exist, obviously. Uh, Games that you may have purchased digitally back in 2004, they're still in your list along with all the new stuff. It feels like everything is like front and center, like you actually have this library. And when you couple that with the idea that you won't necessarily lose this, if Steam closes, you can still get these games on your PC one way or the other. Plus, there's multiple marketplaces. GOG is a great one. They sell DRM free games. Not every game, but they do sell a lot of games. You can get them. That's awesome, right? Um, so because of that, and the fact that, frankly, with the physical media, I love big box PC games, but physical media and PC, it was never like a console, right? It never got to that point. It was always a much more fiddly process, completely non-standard. And hell, if you wanted to, you could still do it today. I mean, I do have some new modern games that are physical games on the PC. It's possible, right? The option is there. But on a console, it's a closed system. And they're not always cracked, certainly not quickly. They can take things away from you. They can shut down accounts. Services can go offline. You can lose access to it. They can essentially close your account with no recourse. Prices are higher. And modern game systems have largely become just PCs anyway. Like, if Sony had a very strong lineup of first party games that was coming out at a regular clip like they used to, like you look at PlayStation 2 era, they released hundreds of first party games for that system. And yeah, development has changed, but I don't believe that I I do act okay. I actually do think it is possible to create games at a faster clip with lower investment and still be successful. We do see this sometimes in the indie space, but this like need to only go for the blockbusters, it's slowed the release cadence down to an absolute trickle. So now you want people to invest in this thing while also getting very little software. I don't know, man. It's a bad deal all around for me, and it kind of kills a lot of my interest in this. And Rich, I said earlier, like, because of the nature of our work, like, we'll have to interact with the PlayStation 6, right? It's going to be part of it, but it's going to become more of like, hey, this is a box I use for work and not something that I personally want to spend my own money on anymore. And that makes me sad that that option's going away. And I don't like the talk that, like, you see a lot of people like, it's inevitable, man, give up, it's inevitable. I don't want to give up. Like, maybe it is inevitable. Maybe there is no option here, but I'm not just going to hand this over to the companies without saying anything, right? Because I think it's genuinely important. And based on the response, I think a lot of people freaking agree with me on that. And we'll see. Maybe this will go nowhere. Maybe they will win this. Maybe Sony will come out. They'll sell just as much. Nobody cares. It's a blip, whatever. But they will have lost some customers along the way. And whether they care about us or not, it's a real sad time for that, because, you know, a lot of us, including myself, we've invested a lot of years into this hobby. And, you know, I get it. These are businesses. They're here to make money first. But there is an emotional side. There's a connection side to all of this. And the companies that embrace that have had the most luck. Sony has done this in the past, as you noted, Rich. This is how they came out on top in the past. This is exactly the move they made when Microsoft stumbled in 2013. They did the opposite. They brought forth their humanity. They spoke to their customers in a way that was attractive, and it worked, right? Throwing all of that away, I don't know. I don't think it's a great idea. We'll see. And I'm not somebody saying digital should go away. Absolutely not. There is a lot of benefits to it, and I get the reason, but all we're asking for is an option to continue to receive some sort of physical medium. So that's my rant. Sorry if it was too long or incoherent, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but it's I'm not happy about this. It's the worst thing that Sony's ever done, and it completely shook all of my confidence in the brand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's actually a pretty crucial thing that I don't think you really talked about, which is the concept of ownership, and what that actually means. I mean, it's to the fact that you own a license when you buy something from the PlayStation Store. Are you actually buying it at this point? Does having a buy button actually mean anything?
That's right.
Bearing in mind what your rights actually are. I think there's definitely a preservation angle, right? And for example, go to the Microsoft Store, try to buy Forza Horizon 3. You can't, right?
Oh, Rich, actually, a great example. Recently, we talked about Onrush, right?
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
we brought that up the other day,
Yeah.
I had a lot of people say, "Oh man, I didn't even know about this game," and they wanted to go find it. Of course, it's long delisted. Your only option there, physical copy, right?